what's up out there? I had initially thought about calling this visual storytelling or something along those lines, and it just didn't feel right to me. If I was to explain visual storytelling, it would be more in line with trying to tell the main story and showing you events that relate to the main story, not just stuff that's in the background. Then the word world building came to me, and I was like, you know what? That's exactly what I'm trying to talk about here, is the world building that goes on. And I think Grim Dawn is a masterclass in world building. This isn't just putting plates on a table inside of a house and things like that. There's a lot more to it, and it's in plain sight throughout the entire game, but it comes up very subtly, and you don't really notice it until you get midway or close to the end of the game. It really was when Fort Ikon hit. Or when I got into Fort Ikon, it was like a 2x4 to the forehead, and now I can't unsee it. So I wanted to actually share some of that with you just because I think it's really cool. Right out of the gate, you start off being hung. You are possessed by an ethereal. It's kind of whatever it is, it's bad. You don't want it. You don't want to be possessed by it. So you start off over here in this spot. There's some runes or whatever the symbology there is here, but you're being hung, and you follow a cutscene. You come out, you run off into this area over here, and you kind of just move on. What you'd probably run past without giving much thought to is this pile of burned bodies over here. I'm going to guess that whatever all the other people that were possessed by whatever these ethereals are, they probably got hung and burned over here. And it's something so easy to skip over. You've also got, the little makeshift setup over here. This is an old prison that's seen a lot better days. It's beat up, broken down. You can see the makeshift village that's set up inside of here into all the rubble and everything. Like, it's not just stuff thrown on the ground because it's stuff thrown on the ground to make it look good. It's actually got a purpose in, like I said, the world building of this whole thing. One of the first things you see coming out of all this and going through the dialogue with some of the characters over here is these guys fighting off a horde of zombies or monsters or whatever's coming through there. And you can tell that this has been going on for a long time because there's a lot of bodies stacked up. There's some barricades that are kind of getting broken down. Like, this is definitely a dire situation. Their makeshift village, the busted up prison, the fight and all the bodies and things piled up over here. Like, there's a lot of storytelling, or a lot of world building, I guess is the better way, just in this scene, and you're probably going to skip past it and kill a bunch of stuff and move on. Even further is this blob of thing over here. Like, it's right there. And most of the time that I load into the game, I load in right here, and this thing is sitting right there. And it took me a long time to figure out what this was. At first, I thought it was just kind of a blob of crap on the ground. I was like, it's not too big a deal. But the more I looked at it, this looks like a mutant from like Fallout 3 or something like that. The ones that use a car door for a shield and a stop sign for an axe or something like that, the bigger mutants. And this thing, if you look at it, it's got it says safe company. So there's some kind of front door to a safe bolted into his back or fixed into him. I don't know if you can tell, it's kind of dark on here, but there's like engine written on this. So it's like the front boilerplate to an engine or something like that, a steam engine. And then there's one of these ether crystals with the goo coming off of it. Like, there's some just amazing world building just in this one opening area. The next place I want to show you is further on into the game. This is kind of off on the right side, is first third or quarter of the game. And I didn't really notice this a whole lot, but coming back into it, it's more noticeable. This is an area of cultists that are sacrificing humans. And you can see they've got like their little blood sacrifice place over here. You can see the bodies and parts hanging up from the background, more sacrificial areas and stuff like that. Like, it's not just backdrop, it's actual, like, they're sacrificing people, and it's not just bodies laying in the background. There's actual setting to it. We're going to go back into here. I've cleared this area out. This is the back, that's the surface level of these people sacrificing things. If we go back down into here, this is some old whatever. I don't know what kind of building this was, but it looks like it's got some kind of prison to it. It's maybe some kind of fort or whatever. But now you're starting to see little pentagram, demonic type stuff on the ground, all kind of runes, more bodies hanging from the walls. Here's this sacrificial pit. And I ended up using this for the thumbnail because I thought this was very cool. They got like a little prayer book or whatever over here. You've got implements for sacrifice, axes and knives and things like that. But I cleared all this out. Back here, you've got like a cook pot and everything. So the more you go, the more you see. The next thing I want to show you is over here at Homestead. Now, this is where I really started to notice that things were changing a lot. Coming at this in a slightly different angle, probably the way the camera's rotated. But this is a ramshackle village. I don't know. It's makeshift fort. It's a bunch of farmers, and I think when you start this area, these guys are able to farm in here, and you've got these NPCs that are just out doing their thing. As you go off into this area over here, this is all overrun by insects when you first get here. And you'll see that there's, dead bodies laying all over the place, old farm implements, but there's no farmers out here. And once you start clearing off the threats, the farmers start moving back out. And I mean, you can see that their houses are all set up to defend against whatever it is. But now that I've cleared everything out and killed the threats, there's guards in place that are watching the area. Now, obviously, there's monsters on the other side, but the guards are there. If you want to drag stuff over into them, they'll go fight it. But I thought that was really cool that there's fields and crops and everything growing in. The insects have taken over, the trees and everything. Like, this just feels really cool. So the thing that I want to close out on is over here in Fort Ikon itself. And this one is where I really got into it. You kind of don't notice the little steam trucks and things that are here. You're going to come in here, probably you're going to walk past all the extra turrets and guns and cannon parts and everything. Then you're going to talk to there's, some captain or whatever you talk to over here. And then you go back out and go run through the levels and kill things. So you're probably going to ignore all that. But this is where I really started to notice it. Not only that, but I noticed that this little thing is out here, whatever this steam vehicle is. This looks like something from World War I. Some kind of a little makeshift steel tank with a cannon on it or whatever, probably steam driven, that's pulling a little cart probably. I'm going to guess these are cannonball storage or something like that. But let's go in here further. You come out to this thing here. I got to kill some stuff off here real quick. But you look at this little steam buggy here. Probably should have pre-cleared this area. But you look at this steam buggy here, and this thing's pulling along another cannon or turret or something in the background. It's got its own little turret. If we zoom in on it, you can see the little spike steel wheels that are on this. This is really cool. Now, I'm going to go clear out another area and do a little cut. I'll bring you back in when I'm ready. But the next area is the armory. I thought was phenomenal. So give me just a second. We'll be right back. Now, over here, we've got this giant hole that goes into the armory. The armory actually, the entrance to the armory is actually over here. But if you look at this, it's like vehicle storage underneath. I don't think this is one for one exactly what you see underneath. But if you go down, when we go down into the fort, I'm going to show you this. I think this and this are pretty much where they are down inside the fort. This little truck over here and this little buggy looking thing, I think are slightly in different places, but it looks to me like they actually show you what's the next level down when you're up here. And this looks normal. This looks like there's the next level is open, and then there's another level under that, and then the bottom level's open with this burning wreck of stuff underneath. But something really bad happened here, but the continuity between this area and the next is amazing. I think it's very well done. So let me clear out the next area, and then I'll bring you in and we'll take a look at this. So here we are, one level lower. This looks exactly the same. I'm still not quite sure that these over here on the right are identical to the way things are set up from above when you look down at this. But here's the vehicle sitting on the edge about to fall off. Here's one turned over. Here's this thing down here with the fire going on. And then I think there's another one off to this side. I feel like the orientation of the stuff on the right side is not quite right. But regardless of whether it is or not, I think it's very cool to have the continuity that when you look in from the top, you see this, and then you go down one level and then you see more of this. And this is the armory, so appropriately, there's all kinds of different guns and ammo. It's just exactly what you would expect it to be. Now, I have one more thing to show you, and that is the battlements outside of the fort here. Unfortunately, actually, we'll do two more things. So out here is directly outside the fort. If we come out through this opening here, you'll see that there's fortification set up, some holes for explosion. You know, something blew up here and caused some craters. You've got dead guys around the cannons and things like that. All these monsters down here. Look at all the fortifications set up, the barricades, the barbed wire and all that, the chests for ammo and everything, the broken down trees. Like, this looks like stuff straight out of World War I. The trench situations that they had going on, all the vehicles turned over and everything. I loved this, and just seeing the amount of care and attention to detail that was set up in here is tremendous. Now, I do have one more thing that I want to show off, and that is the actual necropolis area. I thought this was very well done too. You come into here, there's the cult that's basically killing people and taking all their blood and doing stuff with it. But you come into this cemetery, and there's a lot of cool stuff in this cemetery. I think the cemetery is very well done. It's called a necropolis because necropolises are typically vast storage for dead people. This isn't just a small cemetery. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and this necropolis goes on for a long ways. And this is just a taste of it. There's a bunch to it as I kill everything off that's in here. But you can see the amount of detail that they've got going on here. Like, it's not just some small cemetery. And if I can kill all this stuff off so it's not bothering me, yeah, we'll just go off this way. You can look at the map for it. Like, this whole thing is necropolis. All of this is necropolis. So that's one giant cemetery, basically. All of it. It's just a phenomenal amount of world building that goes through this entire game. I thought it was really cool. It took me a long time to actually see it. Like, it was there the whole time, but as I've shown you, it's there, but you kind of run past it as you're killing things, and you don't necessarily pay attention to it. But when you really look at what's going on in the background, they've done a phenomenal job of world building. I look forward to going through. I'm going to start the Ashes of Malmouth expansion. The Ashes of Malmouth actually runs from here, from Gloomwald, all the way up this. The last time I played this, I remember the Malmouth city itself. I think it was probably in Malmouth. It was really hard to navigate, but I'm curious to see if they've continued the world building that they do in the base game throughout, because there was a gap between the time that they did the base game and then the first expansion. And then this here is the Forgotten Gods, or whatever this expansion is. I think this is Forgotten Gods over here. I'm curious to see how this one goes. The first time I played this back in 2019, I got about halfway through this before I quit. But I'm curious to see if the world building continues. And then even still, it's been like Forgotten Gods was out when I played this in 2019. We're now getting another expansion many years later. I'm curious to see how they've continued that with whatever we get with this new expansion and whatever it comes with. So at any rate, hope you've enjoyed it. I thought it was very cool to see all the different things that they've done with the backgrounds, scenery, stuff that you probably would never even notice. But the world building is just phenomenal in this game. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.